When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast is what they've been missing. When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast is what they've been missing. When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast, this is what they've been missing. When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast is what they've been missing. Word.
Welcome to this edition of Marc My Words, where my guests do the talking, I do the listening, and you do the eavesdropping. Today I'm going to read the accolades here because I'm quite impressed with what I read. Today, we have a notable Camille Simmons, community leader in Rochester, New York, who currently serves as president of the Rochester City School District Board of Education. She was first elected to the school board in 2021 and was elect board president in January 2025. She is also the executive director of Leadership Rochester, a non-for-profit organization that develops civic and community leaders in Rochester region. Before that, she worked in the youth advocacy, social work, and non-for-profit leadership roles focused on supporting children and families. Just a little bit of background. She's a Rochester native, a parent of a Rochester City School District graduate, and she also herself is a Rochester City School graduate. Holds a bachelor's degree in social work from Cayuga College and a master's degree in strategic leadership from Robert Wesleyan University.
Wow.
Bravo.
Thank you.
So hearing me read that, that's from ChatGPT.
Wow.
Right. So how does it feel to be searched?
Yeah.
To be able to be searched and to hear that they got it right?
Yeah. You know, I read something a long time ago and it said that every once in a while you should Google yourself. I don't think ChatGPT existed at that time. They said Google yourself and see what comes out. And if you are really trying to do some work, you'll see yourself on Google. So I began to practice that. And I was surprised to see myself coming up, you know, and I think I move with a spirit of humility, I like to say. But I do like to see that some of the works that I'm trying to accomplish are being recognized on some level, and hopefully they'll be effective when it comes to children. That's where I'm at with it.
It's a flex. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a flex because it's like, who don't want to say, Google me? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I ain't got time. Yeah, now you can just Google me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So with that said, just tell us a little about you coming up. We want to start from knowing Camille as a little girl. Did you have any nicknames coming up?
Oh, man. So my family, only my daddy, like literally only my father can call me this. My nickname is Fats.
Fats?
Yeah, and I spell it P-H-A-T-Z, Fats.
Okay.
He would say, Fats on me again. I was a fat little robust baby.
Really?
And I was this fat girl. And so basically, I'm a daddy's girl. Daddy, can I go with you? Anywhere he was trying to go, I was trying to ride in his Thunderbird.
Okay,
the red leather
I was
seats.
chilling.
Yeah, we was chilling. I was ride or die for real. And I still am for my dad. I love my mom to death, but I'm a daddy's girl. So I'm a West Side girl.
West Side?
Yes, Roslyn Street, right by Woodbine. That's where I, grew up. That's where my foundation is. So Rochester is near and dear to me. It's not something I'm learning. It's something I've been part of for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
50?
I'm 50.
Say that.
I've been learning to say it. I'm proud of it.
You just another flex.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what do you think keeps women as yourself, who's in such a power and leadership roles, keeps you to build like you look? As far as skin wise, and any regimens. What is it that keeps you looking how you look?
You really have to take care of yourself, and I'm trying to stay committed to that. If I have to admit, I ain't that great at my routine right now, but I've been doing okay. But drink lots of water, watch what you're eating, because those things help you not just physically but mentally. You got to take care of your spirit too, because the roles that we're in when you're doing that kind of work, you need to be right. You can't help nobody else unless you're doing what you need to do to save yourself so that you are effective for other people. So, yeah.
So growing up a city West Side girl, what did that entail for like recreation for Camille? Was there any double dutching? Was there any cheerleading for Pop Warner? Like, what was it coming up?
You probably know Joanne. Did you know Joanne Smith?
Yes.
Okay, me and Joanne were 3 houses away from each other, right down Roslyn Street.
Yep.
So I was at Joanne's house a lot, around the street. But yeah, I was there. My parents, though, my father. Let me tell you this: my father's a pastor, and he owns his own charter bus company. I'm a PK kid, so there's a lot that comes with that.
Tell us.
And yeah, so they would be like, "We're gonna call you the No House." My parents are pretty strict.
Okay.
And I would say that right around 14 years of age, I'm going to back up really quickly. I was also a Brighton kid. So urban, suburban. From 1st to 8th grade, went to Brighton schools.
Okay.
And it was around the 8th grade, it was time to go to high school, where I was like, Daddy, I want to be with my people at.
I know that's right.
Could I go to Wilson, right? So
around
Wilson,
the corner.
right around the corner. And I was able to convince my parents at the time to go over to Wilson, which I did. But a lot of folks, I don't know. I share it openly, but I became a chronic runaway too.
Really?
Yeah. And so I don't know if
Wait, before you go there, was there any siblings in the house when you were running away?
Okay, so this might answer the question because I was a middle child.
There you go. That's why I asked. I got to kind of see where the runaway was coming in. A middle child always feel
identity
left out.
Crisis.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you because I still remember this conversation with my mother. At one point, I was like, well, Rhonda, she's my oldest sister, right? And then Chucky, he's the only boy, and Kamaria's the baby. So who am I? So they all had this identity that made them special in my eyes. And I was like, who am I? So I had that middle child syndrome for real. And yeah, I wouldn't say that was totally it, but I got into things.
Is it? And so having that and then having a pastor as a father, was there some strict guidelines coming up? Not mean, but just strict and stern.
Right. Very stern, very strict.
Okay. And that causes you to say, I kind of want to rebel and run off.
I was the rebellious one. I was the outspoken one, and I probably still am.
It's so funny. I don't get that from you. Yeah. Never did from knowing you.
Good.
So that's good.
Very good. Yeah.
So, but it's good to hear because of no transition and how people can overcome such triumphs, such feelings. Because that falls under the umbrella of mental health when it comes to middle child syndrome.
That's it.
So do you think you had that coming up, some issues of mental health, not mental issues?
Yeah, right.
Mental
I think that I just was struggling, again, with identity, going to the suburban districts. I didn't, just try to, where do I fit in this world? Who am I? And then my father didn't play. Let me just be real. He didn't play. And I didn't want a whooping. I got whoopings. And so, I think that was the first time I ran away. And I just kind of wanted to do what I wanted to do, hanging out with friends. I did recreational smoking of things, right? But I think that experience is what shaped me to really care about children and understanding what our children need right now. So I was a kid who ran away from home, was a person in need of supervision. I smoked weed. I started drinking at 14 years of age. And I share that openly and with pride because, to your point, it's something I overcame and something that I can look at our children without judgment, meet them where they are, and pour into them. And that's why the work I've done over the past 20 years has been focused on trying to support children. And that's what led me to where I'm at today.
Okay, which is a great segue because you're saying that some of your past experiences is what caused you to say, because would you consider yourself a politician?
A servant.
Amen. Elaborate on that. Why do you feel, what's the difference between a politician and a servant?
Yeah. So a politician, there is one with political aspirations, and sometimes those aspirations are what leads your motivation. But when you understand that you're on assignment and you are here to serve people and that the cause that you are working toward is greater than yourself, it's not really about you and your aspirations, but about trying to help others. That makes me a servant. That's what makes people servants. And so I do aspire to servant leadership.
Okay. And so going into this, as someone who was in the district of Brighton, which is suburban, to some of you that don't know, it's a suburban area outside of the city.
Right.
And you did 8 years there. And so I'm assuming it was diverse, but predominantly
Mm-mm. It was not diverse.
Okay.
And I think that was also part of like my identity piece. My parents raised me to be proud and to understand who I am. And so going to Brighton during that time in the early 80s and things like that, oftentimes there was probably a handful of us that got on the bus together from the city of Rochester and were bussed out to Brighton Suburban School District. And you find yourself as the only Black child in your classroom sometimes. Like, why, ain't nothing but a handful of us. Why are we separated in these classrooms? And so I began to notice things like that. And I think one memory that really stood out for me was around the 5th grade. There was a showcase in my middle school. And so, Hanukkah would come up, Christmas, all of these different events, holidays.
Kwanzaa.
Right. Well, there wasn't no Kwanzaa. But you would see all these things. And I remembered, like, Black History Month is going to come up. I cannot wait to see what they're going to have there. And I remember going to that showcase, the showcase in the middle of the hallway with the intention of seeing what they had. And I was disappointed. And I always said I was going to go back and tell them, maybe this will get it out there, right? Because I never did, but...
It's Brighton, right?
Yeah, right. And, and it's the ignorance of folks, not necessarily intentional bad,
Right.
But for me as a child, I looked in the showcase and I saw like a bunch of entertainers and athletes. And I knew that we were so much more than that. And nothing's wrong with being an athlete or entertainer. I love me some Michael Jackson and Michael Jordan, but that's what it was filled with. And there were so many other meaningful figures that were missing from that showcase. And they put us in this bubble is how I felt. And I just remember thinking like, mm-mm. And so I think that's when my identity kicked in and I was saying, I want to be around kids that look like me more.
So what was that conversation like when you went back home to Pops, the Mom Dukes, and you had that specific conversation? Mm-hmm. What was that like?
It was a no.
They said no?
Oh, yeah, because...
And how old were you then?
Oh, so I was in the 8th grade at that time.
About
so
13.
12, 13 years old. And so I had to convince them, and I think they began to I'm very convinced. I can be very convinced.
I was going to say that if you can do that at 13, that's huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, again, I'm outspoken. And at that time, the president of the United States had just come to Wilson High School.
And who was
George
president?
Bush Sr.
Okay.
And he had just visited, and it was, they were all these accolades and things of that nature. So it was a little bit of an easier sell. And I pleaded, really. I begged. And but they understood. They began to understand, like she really needs this. So they got me.
Because did any of the others? Because you have a baby one, but say the oldest, where did she go to school? Did she stay in the city, or did she also do urban?
So most of us started at St. Monica's. So for pre-K and kindergarten, I was at St. Monica's. Then I went to Brighton. She started at St. Monica's in around 4th grade. She ended up in Brighton, where she graduated from Brighton. But then she went to an HBCU for college, right?
Ooh,
so, yeah,
I know that was a culture shock.
Yeah, I still be trying to figure out if she's tapped in. She is. I always pick at her about that. My brother, he stayed in city schools, and my baby sister, she got into the urban suburban program, but she was writing letters to the principal like, "Don't take me." So she actually went to School of the Arts. She was like, "No, thank you, I'm good."
And so now that you convinced them, you have now started at Wilson.
Yes.
How does that look?
Oh man, a mecca of us. It was, but still the identity crisis is happening because now I'm here. It's my 9th grade year of high school. And what I didn't think about is that a lot of these young folk, because remember, I come from a strict household.
Right.
So a lot of the folks in high school already knew each other because they might have went to interim and different, middle school and elementary together. So they come, and so I'm still trying to find my people because I'm sheltered a little bit. And I know some people, but I don't know a lot of people. And so finding my way, yeah.
And so you found your way. When you graduated from Wilson, while you were at Wilson, did you do any activities, any sports, any extracurriculars? Because I'm trying to see where you affiliated with like student government, PRISM, any social groups you were?
No, I got in the 9th grade. I started running away.
In the 9th?
Right.
Wow.
As soon as I got there. My father was probably like, "See, Rachel, I
should have
told
kept
you."
you.
Right. You shouldn't have let her go. But I do believe that experience, for whatever it was worth, shaped me and gave me insight that I would not have gained otherwise. And so, although it was hell, I put my parents through hell doing that. Me and my father now can look back and laugh, because me winning and getting on a school board, he just laughs, because I went from this 9th grade 14-year-old little girl who he was looking for in the streets, like, where's she at? Now, I wasn't doing too crazy, but I was at friends' houses where their parents may not have been right. I didn't have to get permission and all that. So I went from this runaway girl to running for the school board, the very district he was like, we got to get her in class. And now here I am sitting as president of the school board. So, full circle moment.
So before we go into your transition into where you are now as a leader in the school district, which is applauding, if you had to look into your camera and tell your parents about that runaway time, and if you had to give them this sincere apology, or if you just had a statement to say to them while they're watching, because they can keep this for keepsake versus when you probably have already done in the past, what would you say to them and the young lady that's watching that's thinking of running?
Wow, to my parents, I cannot thank you enough for your love, your grace, and your commitment to me as your daughter. My father, he was out there late at night, early in the morning, and he worked in the school district at the time. So he, you, Daddy, you had access. And I know how you used your friends and your colleagues to find your daughter. And I appreciate you so much. And Mama, I know you were praying. And to that little girl who may think running away or just getting away from things is the thing to do, I would encourage you to just try to have conversation. Find an adult that you can trust. Talk about your feelings. Try to make a different decision, because there's things that come with decisions we make. And sometimes we're not lucky.
Yes, talk about it.
Yeah, so think about that.
I like that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to reach some young lady that's watching or some other parent. They can use that.
Yeah.
So going into who you are now, I want to take me through those thoughts in your head to say, this is what I want to become in leadership or being a servant, because you could have done many things, but hearing your life, going to middle school, predominantly white, and so you got that experience of, I wasn't happy in this district, but then when I came to this district, I still was a little unhappy, but somehow you decided to transition to being in the district. So what got you to that mentally? What made you go there?
Yeah. And I will say, even with Brighton, I had some good experiences going out bar mitzvahs and being exposed to different cultures. So that was definitely a benefit of that experience. And acclimating to Wilson, it was just about finding friends and being comfortable with yourself, becoming more and more comfortable with yourself. And so that's all I had to do, is really tap in. Okay. Sometimes we don't know the power that we possess. Tapping in. Yeah, tapping into self and being okay with you. And once you kind of identify that for yourself, can't nobody else define it.
Right. Right. And so, again, where were you when you decided, I'm going to specifically run for this specific office?
Wow. So I was working for a nonprofit organization, and I did not have any political aspirations. And I remember a gentleman saw me in a meeting, and after that meeting, he gave me a call, and he said, have you ever considered running for school board or serving on the school board? And I was like, no. Why would I do that? Although the work I did kept me in proximity to the school board, I was familiar with the things they did, and I worked with children for years, right inside these city schools. So it wasn't anything crazy, but I never considered myself there. And so I was like, no, no, thank you. And he said, well, can I send you the description so that you have a deeper understanding? I said, yeah, and I read it and I fell in love. I was like, it was like a natural progression for what I was already doing, how I was already evolving in my service to children. And I said, wow, it made sense. And I fell in love with the idea from that encounter. And I fell in love and was like, I'm going to pursue it. And I didn't even realize that school board members got a stipend at the time. So that was minus any type of pay. And by the way, that pay is you can't live off of it. Just
school board pay. which
Yeah.
that's good to know because, again, people are watching and they assume people have an assumption that sitting in any politics that there's a lot of money as in any position of political government. But it's really not. And I'm finding that out more as I become more acquainted and friends with people that are which is a good thing because to me, it shows that you're really doing it for the passion.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear it's not about the money all the time.
No.
So in your case, it's not about the money.
Right. There was even a recent conversation where there was a potential for certain government entities for the pay to increase. And I was prepared to say no, because one thing, Mark, that I do kind of agree with is that although that little stipend we get, you can't live off of, it's like part-time work. It does go to the argument of one of the highest paid school boards, even though a small amount, but our student outcomes are not there. And when you go back 40 years and more, and we see that we're producing children that are not reading on grade level, that are not getting math the way they need to, science, the graduation rate, what's happening?
Yeah. So how does Camille step in on that? When you come as a board member and you sit at the board, now I've watched some of the board meetings on live and things like that, and you guys, what specifically is going on at these board meetings that can assist in these rates that you just quoted with the kids?
Yeah. So, the board's role, and I think that that's something that's confusing too sometimes, is governance, right? And so a lot of folks, including myself, you get on there like, I'm about to advocate for these kids, and there is a level of advocacy that comes with it for sure. But our role is to govern. The superintendent and the administration, their role is to really do the day-to-day operations. And a lot of times you'll see us kind of moving into that and trying to dictate things that we really shouldn't be. We should be holding people accountable for decisions, but we need to make good decisions that are systemically facing and allow for the administration to operate in a way that allows them to have successful outcomes. And so when we look at the history here, one of the things Rochester asks is, why so many superintendents? Right? And so when you think about this hamster wheel, I call it, of superintendents that come in, you left a year later, we ran them out of town.
High turnover.
Right? What's going on? What's going on?
I've asked that myself.
The common denominators, there. And I'm not going to say that it's always the board, but those are some variables that I would implore our community to take a look at. Right? Foundation and what are the common denominators? What are things that we see? And I also want to encourage the community, when you're listening to headlines, do a little more digging, look into what you're hearing, do your own research a little bit. And because a lot of messages come, but the messages are light on information or they're missing core components of it. So
right.
I'll say that.
So we the people, we elect board members as well. Right. Yeah. So you as president, what is your actual position? Like because I'm going to say, I've watched like 3 of them that I can recall recently. And I look for, here's what I'm looking at. You as a leader, so I'm specifically zoomed in on you a lot at those meetings to see how you're going to operate or conduct them. Because a lot of times those meetings get very chaotic. And they get like out of hand. And I've seen that more than once. I want to accept that as the passion that each member has, but then sometimes it just goes too far to it's beyond passion. Now it's triggering into petty, right. And messiness. Yeah. And I know that we as parents whose kids are in the city school district, we don't want to watch a bunch of people that we elected to be there for our kids be back and forth with each other. So I want to expound on that back and forthness and me looking at you to be the one to mediate, I guess, or de-escalate, if you will.
Yeah. I'll have to say we're all adults here, right? And so you do want to serve with your colleagues. And I would say at this level of government with a lot of different decisions that need to be made that we all may not agree on, that there will be a level of disagreement. How you disagree is important. And then there's a difference between passion and pattern. So I would caution or implore people to take a look at passion and pattern.
And when you say that, that's a great 2 words you use there, because I immediately said passion is really having the drive and the desire to do something, but it's sincere. Pattern is, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you are used to doing something a certain way, and you've been probably getting away with it that long that you think it's right. So you continue in that pattern. And so the pattern doesn't mix with passion, really. It's either one or the other. It should be.
Well, yeah. I mean, I watch what you show me, and I watched the conversation. And so if we're here to serve children, we said we've got 20,000 students. Let me tell you this, we've got a huge decline in enrollment in Rochester. Back in like the 80s, we had about 44,000 students. We're part of the Big Five. 2003, we had 30,000 students. Right now, we have maybe 20,000 students. We've got a lot of declining enrollment, and we're talking about children that are not reading, increased special education. So that's what we're supposed to be focused on, getting these kids the education they deserve. And so when your conversation is about adult stuff and it's not about making sure these children are okay, I start to call to question, what's your motivation, right? Right. And so I would never be able to define, because then that means someone can define and say, well, Camille's not sincere. And so I can't say that definitively, but I can say again that I'm watching your passion versus your pattern. And although some people may think that that looks good, I implore again people to really pay attention.
Because people can take aggression as, oh, they're serious and they're true. I want to vote them in again because they care about our kids.
Yeah. But behind the scenes, you're not having the conversation that we need to be having. You know, the I got you moments and the withholding of information, the gatekeeping and all that type of stuff. It's not progressing the district. So who is it serving? Who is it serving?
So am I wrong to say that I look at these lives or these meetings and I say, and I look at the president, yourself, to, I guess, gather them, if you will? Because I go back to you saying everyone's adults. That's true. Mm-hmm. But at what point do you feel like there has to be some, stepping in and getting things together and getting some type of decency and order?
Yeah. And so, yes, as the chair of the meeting, you have to try to call that meeting to order. And you can only do so much with what you have. And your options are few and in between. And that's what a lot of folks don't understand. They ask about like accountability, for example. And I think they look at these roles as like, why are you not managing them? Because if that was my boss, and I'm not anybody's boss, I'm the president of the role of the board based on my board colleagues electing me to that role. And really it's serving as the chairperson. I don't have any greater power than them. Okay. And I don't have the ability to chastise them or whatever people might think. You reprimand. No, because trust me, I done had some conversations like, what we doing here? Why, And so people for years have watched different behaviors show up. And this is not to personalize it. Again, people may really believe in certain things. Mm-hmm. Where's that getting us right now? Right. But at the end of the day, that accountability that the community often says is not present is very limited. It's very limited. And I've looked into some things. So writing up a person or saying you're insubordinate, again, I'm not their boss. So we are limited in what we can do in government. And that's what makes government so tricky and difficult to navigate at times.
Do other people bring this up to you, like this part that they saw? Do you be like in I don't know, Walmart, Wegmans, and grocery store, someone walk up to you and be like, I saw that, and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. Do you get that?
I do. And a lot of times I get encouraging messaging, like people, keep holding yourself the way you hold yourself. Right. Mm-hmm. My parents raised me.
Oh, right. And she said raised her.
They raised me.
So you weren't brought up.
I was raised.
I know that's right.
And they have an expectation of me. And, there's no perfect way to do it because a well-mannered woman don't get things done either all the time. Sometimes you got to shake the table. You got to shake it. But the way I shake the table, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. And so that looks different for different people. But, yeah, I think it's important, especially with my dual role.
Right.
I serve as a leadership development executive director as well. And so I want to attract people to that programming. I want them to know that they're in good hands and that the people I'm going to put them in front of are in good hands. And I can't afford to walk outside of certain things, nor am I interested in doing that, especially when I consider it to be self-serving. So I'm encouraged by people, saying just keep going, and I appreciate you holding yourself. And what's that thing we say? Better you than me, or
Yeah,
that's
you better than me.
You're right, you better than me, and I'm like, listen.
Because I also commend you, and I've commended you before on how your patience is great. It's phenomenal. It's something to be envied. Because other people, it could be, this could be a triggering moment at those meetings. But for the most part, I don't want to stick to that because you guys also get things done like budgets. So let's bring in budgeting because people want to know about. A lot of times, you guys are also in the news about budgets. Oh, budget cuts, budget this.
Right.
So when they took like nurses out of school or specific, what do they call
workers,
them? All that type of stuff, all the help,
Yeah.
because even gym is being talked about, right? Physical ed and.
Listen, across the nation, public education is in a space right now, right? We have declining enrollment. And so when your staffing structure doesn't meet your student structure, like I said, 40,000 down to like 20,000, the staffing has to be looked at. This particular year's budget, this is not just here in Rochester, Buffalo, you go over to Syracuse, and across, like I said, across the nation or the region, you'll see a lot of public schools are in these spaces where they're facing financial deficit. And a lot of folks look at Rochester and say, okay, you got $1 billion budget, stop it. Which what do you mean you have to cut social workers, right? And so we have declining enrollment. We have charter school. We pay for the tuition for charter, private, and those other schools, and transportation as well. Right, so it's like maybe $150 million goes straight to making sure children that go to charters are paid for, and we don't have any say so. So sometimes a child that goes to a particular school that's charter, that's not Rochester. So saying, Miss Simmons, we want to see some resources in our school, and I'm like, y'all have a board. We're giving you those. We have staffing costs, like the healthcare. I'm sure everybody. I know I did at my organization, healthcare costs and benefits, things like that. All of those things and utilities are impacting people. RG&E, y'all get that? Right? So we're feeling it across the nation, and we have to make cuts. So what you might have saw recently was the social workers. These are very necessary resources that you want to keep. And people were like, wait a minute. We're saying we care about kids. They need these resources, and you're cutting the social workers. And I've had people stop me who thought we were like getting rid of all of the social workers across the school district. And you don't want to see anybody go. We can use as much as we can use, right? We're talking about like 8 social workers and 8 counselors right now. So what maybe people were thinking we were losing, it's much less.
Okay.
But you
So yeah, I hear that. That's
right.
Definitely music to our ears.
Right.
And so budget cuts. So when you see that come across your email or your desk, what is your immediate reaction when you see budget cuts?
Well, we got to cut.
Right.
And that is the dance right there. That is the dance, because you have to really identify what's most necessary. And I would say social workers are necessary, right? But also what the school district is designed to accomplish, which is educate children. And so our district administration has to make really tough decisions on different roles. People talk about central office. There's a lot of folks down there. They say, well, get them where the big money is, that kind of thing. So they have to look at all of those different roles and determine what needs to be cut. I think this past year with the new administration, I'm encouraged to know they're ready to go out to the community as early as this summer even and start those conversations, because it doesn't stop this year. Like right now we have a 5-year projection where they're saying maybe $128 million by 2031 or something like that. So these, 61 million by next year is what we're looking at. Like, this stuff is progressing. If you look at the city of Rochester right now, they have a projected deficit coming. And so we are in a state of flux across the nation, and tough decisions have to be made. But people, our community wants to be part of that, and I need us to show up.
And when you say, before we go into how the community can show up,
Mm-hmm.
what part of the decisions that are made as far as what cuts and things like that, do you guys as board members or yourself ever sit in on the decisions and say yay or nay as well?
Well, the superintendent's role is to kind of identify, bring us a plan, if you will, of information and present that recommendation. The board's role as governance is to be able to, we can either accept it or we can say no. So some folks are, get into this, you're rubber stamping things, and trust me, this has not been an easy year. There's been a lot of back and forth, and that budget almost did not pass.
And the budget, the Rochester City School District budget recently is $1 billion.
Our current, we have a $100 billion budget, or $1 billion budget. Yes, $1 billion budget. And we have a fund balance too, which people look at as like this big old piggy bank. Like, you got $314 million in this fund balance. Use some of that money to save these positions.
Why are they? What are they saying?
Yeah, so in that fund balance first of all, we are a state monitored district as well. So we have an assigned state monitor, because back in 2019, prior to me being on the board, the district had a lot of financial flux per usual, right? And the funds, whatever was going on, they ended up putting a state monitor in the Rochester City School District. So with that comes restrictions and expectations around how we're spending, which is necessary, right?
Understood.
Yeah, and then when you look at that fund balance, those are restricted and unrestricted dollars. So we don't have access to just $314 million, but the unrestricted dollars, you might have a little more flexibility. But the restricted dollars are set apart for specific purposes, and so are our spending lines in our overall budget. So some things are set aside just for staff. You can't just rob Peter to pay Paul and put it over here. And if the state is saying, no, don't keep using your fund balance, you're gonna deplete it. It's just like at home. You can't just keep going into your piggy bank and your reserves. So we are being held to a tight standard. They did, communicate that to us, and folks don't necessarily understand that. And so we do need to get out and make sure we're communicating in a way that they can get that information and ask more questions. Yeah.
So you guys heard her here first while you're eavesdropping. She said we need the community. So how do the community get out and be of assistance to this?
Yeah. So one thing I would love to see is folks show up for board meetings when they can, because we do have them on the fourth Thursday.
To the public.
Yep. And you can come and see and sit there and observe. You can see who comes early, who leaves late and comes early. Whatever it is, we do all of the things there, right? You can see how the conversations flow, gain a better understanding of how decisions are made, even if you can't stay the entire time. But oftentimes people pack it out during controversy. But come through when you can and just sit down and see what's going on. But we're online too. We're on YouTube, so you can just, if you can't come, watch it online, learn a little bit.
I normally watch live.
Yep.
So why is that important? Why is it important to see numbers in the board meetings from the public, the community?
Yeah, because really, school board members are elected by the community.
Okay.
I didn't get there by myself. I didn't say, I think I'm going to run for the school board, and then I just showed up and sat there. This community said, okay, there's something about you, Camille, that we believe. There's something about you that we believe will represent us and our children and do us justice and what we're looking for when it comes to educating our children here in Rochester. So they voted me in and expect me to uphold it. And that's why every member of that board sitting there, that's how we all got there. Not by ourselves, but by the community. And so in order for the community to hold us accountable for what we are or are not doing well, we need them to kind of understand. And that way, when you see these headlines come out, you can decipher better what's real and what's not. Where do I need to do my homework? Maybe I should ask more questions. Is it really that way? Who's serving who and who's zooming who?
Right. So that's pretty interesting because we do elect the board members. So I want to say with the how long are you guys supposed to sit before there's re-election, or how does it work? How do you remain? How do you become to where it's your season's over?
Right. Yeah. So board members were elected. You're on for 4 years. So I just got reelected past year it was. So I have a 4-year term. This is my second 4-year term. And if I wanted to continue my service on the school board, then I would have to run again for another 4 years. So at the end of this current term that I'm in, which is my second term, that'll have been 8 years. So I've only been on the school board 4, so I'm going in my 5th year right now.
So does your stipend goes up higher the more you're there?
No.
So you don't make more the longer you're
No,
there?
you don't get, no, you're just there, and the stipend is a stipend. And you know, that's there. But I feel like we should earn it. I definitely don't think it should go up, but I can appreciate why it's there. And I don't know if folks understand, like the way you see maybe some of the suburban districts, and I'm not saying their roles are not difficult and tough, but they do not have the level of angst that we experience here in this district.
So elaborate on why would someone who sits on the board would say you don't think, and I quote, that it should go up.
Yeah.
Meaning the stipend, pay, if you will, shouldn't go up.
And it's a lot of hard work.
Right. So people are listening and they want to know, well, why would she think that or say that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
this is my personal opinion.
Exactly.
I'm not representing me in any of this interview, my colleagues. I'm speaking, you know, as my individual self. But for me personally, again, when I look at the history of this district and what we're supposed to be accomplishing, which is educating children, and our outcomes look the way they do,
you haven't earned it then.
I would struggle if something went up, because there was a recent conversation by virtue of another government entity. If their stipend would go up, ours is connected, and it may have gone up as well. But I was prepared to say no if that conversation continued. We're not producing the outcomes that our children deserve. And what we're producing here in this community, these are children that come out into our community. What is the point? What are we doing? What are we doing?
That's a great answer. That's not an expected answer, but it's a passionate answer.
Yeah.
And although I've already voted for you in the past, it definitely will make me continuously to vote for you, because it gives me the notion that you are in it just to be really passionate and for the children. I wanted to say, I go to graduations these days, right? Grad season is so expensive.
Yeah.
I'm starting to kind of hate it, because you're getting a card every week and weekend.
Oh, Lord. Prom
you're
and
putting money
graduation.
in it every year. You're just like, okay, another graduation. And I'm big on children succeeding in the city school district. So I'm always one of those that support and showing up. But graduations now, when I graduated back in 1991, I'm dating myself. The graduations would be like at least 500 plus kids. A graduation ceremony could easily go 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Back when I was graduating. Now I go to ceremonies, and those graduations start at 6 and be over at 6:19. But the names be all done.
No, you didn't say
so
that.
I'm exaggerating a little, but I promise you by like 7.
Yes.
Like you get like an hour these days, and the ceremony's done. Because it's not a long list of graduates. What is that about these days? And what do you think is causing the inner city kids to not want to go to school? And how much is that parents assisting in that decision? So
I would say, you know, the decline in enrollment is part of that too. So back in your day, you know, we were still at that 44,000. Starting to decline, but we had a lot more students in the district. So you would see a fuller graduation. And then with the rates declining, that doesn't help. And so student attendance is huge. And then parents, and one thing we do is we try to, I want to avoid demonizing parents, although we need parents to be involved. We need to get your baby to school. And the funny thing is, we think of high school, but absenteeism starts as late as elementary. I mean, as early as elementary.
That's crazy work.
As early as, yes.
I say that, and I've been noticing that, because I'll be like in the community doing something, or just something as simple as driving, and I'll see somebody that should be in school, and I'll be looking at the clock like, wait, 11:30 in the morning. Why is that 10-year-old there instead of
Riding
there?
his bike, yeah.
Right. So it's like
Mhm.
it's starting as elementary. Continue what you were going to say.
Yeah, no. So we need our parents to do that. The seat time is what happens. So you can't be absent a certain amount of time and then think you're going to come and learn. You can't just miss school like that. We need these babies in the seats, and parents are the drivers. And we need to work in tandem. We need our community partners, the school district, along with parents. A lot of times we will say, oh, the parents ain't doing this, that, and the third. But some of our parents are out here working 2, 3, and 4 jobs. And so their absence isn't about not being involved, but it's about, I got to get to my other job so I can put food on the table. So understanding that, and how do we get more creative with making sure we're reaching those families. But absenteeism is huge.
I also grew up in a time of truancy,
Mm-hmm.
truant officers.
Yes.
What's your take on that? What about if they came back? Do you think that's too much of a tyrant? What's your take on having truant officers in these days?
I'm a little biased because, like I said, my daddy, he was owned one of the first Black-owned charter bus companies here in Rochester,
Amen.
CGS and Sun Transit. Charles G. Simmons Sr., right? Pastor
Shout out
Charles
to
G. Simmons Sr.
CGS Transit.
Yep, CGS and Sun Transit. And after 15 years, when his organization, went under, he was not able to continue it. He got a job in the Rochester City School District, and he started as a bus driver. And as a bus driver at that time, he was making $9 an hour, trying to put food on the table. And I said that to say that as he evolved, he became a troubleshooter, right? If you see my dad, he might have saw you somewhere.
Probably.
I don't know.
Well,
A lot of people knew my dad, and so he would go out there. And to your point, the truancy officers getting kids off the street. Where are you? You need to get back in school. I don't know where we are as a society today, but I think there could be benefit in trying to.
As a community helping is what I'm saying. And I don't want to sound like the militant one, because I can be quite militant. I get that from my daddy. But I think it can assist, because I even come from the era of Guardian Angels and PAC-TAC, and just so many community people making sure that we couldn't just be in these streets at these certain hours. So it was so many different non-for-profit organizations that were assisting us to stay in school and be in school at that time. I hope we get out of this conversation that we can get more parents involved, more involved in school, more involved in the board meetings and wherever else. Where else do you see that parents can assist here?
We need partnership, and we need parent relationship.
Okay.
It's relationship, and we're in a microwave society, I call it, where social media is king. I can get on there and say anything, and unfortunately, people will believe anything I say, even if I'm missing part of the narrative, leaving things out intentionally, and that's what's happening sometimes. I stop there, right? But it's this microwave society, quick fix, and it's causing disconnect, where neighbors are no longer talking. Miss Sally up the street isn't holding Mark accountable or saying, Camille, hey, Charles, I saw your daughter.
Everybody minding their business.
Everybody's minding their business. And I get it.
Except when it's time to mind their business.
Except when it's time to mind, right. Now they got the camera out. So we got to get back to the basics. We have to get back to finding true community relationship and supporting one another and identifying what that looks like in today's day and time. Because I get it, you can't just approach anybody's kid, but relationship goes a long way. And I find myself still in a space where I can see a group of girls or a group of young boys, and I walk right on up to them and I have the conversation, but it's also the respect I lend when I do it.
How you approach.
Where they receive me, And so I think those are the conversations we need to be having, but we've got to come together to have them.
I agree. Lastly, before we close here, most people think it's hard to get on the board. Can just an average Joe like myself, or that people think it takes, I read that you have your bachelor's from Cayuga, you have your master's from Robert Wesleyan. Explain that myth that people think what it takes to become a board member.
It's really basic, actually. You just read or write. I think you just have to have graduated high school, really.
Really?
It's always cool to have different experts and different people who can bring information, but we have a board member, one of the youngest elected
like
board
a 19-year-old
members. Right, right, and made his way to the school board fresh out of high school and came on and is on the board currently. So high school graduation, and ingenuity and things of that nature. But no, you can serve on the school board, but I do think we as a board have to do a better job of making sure the community knows what it means to serve on the board, because you don't want to just vote in someone who has passion. Passion is part of it. That's only part of it. But the expectation and the service and the comprehension needed to be successful on the board, those are other things. Working with your colleagues, sharing information, being open to doing the work, learning more. Because you don't get on the board and know it all. You get on the board and you keep learning. So 4 years in, 5 years in, I'm still learning and have so much more to learn. So I have a better appreciation where people may be on the board a little longer. And I don't anticipate being there forever, right? And so how are we building our community and a container of people that are prepared to get on the board? That's something I do want to do, to your point, is reaching out to people like yourself who bring different thoughts and innovation, and get this container of people who are like, yo, I'm going to run for the school board. Come on.
Because I agree that it shouldn't be as simple, because that's when you can, I think it should be a little more weeding out, a little more detailed, and going through with a fine-tooth comb of who's asking to be on the board.
Yes.
To make sure you're not just choosing anyone just because you're in need, or just because they can. Because I think that sometimes is how we come up with the certain things that I see. Certain things that I see going on in the meetings that can come across as disruptive, or intentional negativity. I think that comes from not having to have so much credentials to get on the board.
That is true. That is true. And that's why I think we need to build a container so that folks know what it means to serve on the board, and folks will also know what to look for when they're looking at candidates. Like when I ran, some people are like, oh, she's cute or she's black and I'm voting for her. And I used to tell my sister, make sure you tell them to check me out.
Right, I know.
Because, my black skin only going to carry me so far. Check me out and check out my work. See what I stand for. Check out my conversation, how I'm conducting myself in these streets. What?
Google me.
Google me. There you go. Google me. Yes, that part.
So, but lastly too, now, when you ran, because people think you have to be popular, because I was happy to see you run. I know of you and stuff, but I didn't know that you would be someone that wanted to serve and lead. So when you ran, did you think like, I have to be popular, I'm not popular enough, how will I gain these votes? Speak on that a little.
I didn't know what I was doing. So that was a lot of, I had to seek out help and people just guiding me and showing me each step of the way. And it was God, really, in my opinion, and each time I was like, dang, I don't know what to do at this juncture. He would send somebody else my way that I didn't know, expected or unexpected, and they would tell me the next steps I got to take. But God engineered that thing. He put me there, and I believe that I'm here to serve for that purpose. I'm here to serve his purpose. And that's all I got to do. And outside of that, I ain't worried about nobody else. But if I can do something that will impact children, if I can be of a support to that, if we can do something to uproot this can I say bullshit? This bullshit that we keep seeing here in Rochester, and this playing in the faces of the people that are voting us in, and we sitting here acting like we give a damn about these kids. If I can do something to uproot that bullshit and get us moving in the direction that it needs to be. And that may mean at some point I'm too gone from the board, because I shouldn't be there forever. How are we creating succession plans and getting people that's going to serve these kids and getting Rochester where it needs to go? What are we doing?
That
Google
passion,
me.
that passion that you just penetrated, I felt it. And that penetration also penetrated your perfume. You have a great fragrance on.
Oh, good. Thank you.
That lasted the duration of this. So I want to thank you for coming on to Marc My Words, sharing the words that we need to hear. I thank you for the position that you're in.
Thank you.
I thank you for the community. I thank you for my grandchildren that are in the city school district. I thank you just for my neighbors' kids that I see running around, that you decide to sit on the board, and you have an adult yourself. So you can be at the point of, well, I don't care. My kids graduated from high school, but you are serving for us.
That's right.
You are serving for the children. And I appreciate you, and I'm pretty sure everyone else out here does.
Thank you.
But before we wrap up, is there any last things that you feel you want to say that you haven't said to your audience that's looking at you?
No, I just hope that folks hear this, find something that they resonate with and lean in. Just keep leaning in and keep asking the tough questions, because what is going on here in Rochester that we need to do differently or more of to make sure our kids are okay? But keep it about the kids, and we can win. I do believe that.
This is our school, Rochester City School District Board President herself, Camille Simmons.
Thank you, Mark.
You did great.
When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast is what they've been missing. When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast is what they've been missing. When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast, this is what they've been missing. When I talk, they listen. This is what they've been missing. This podcast is what they've been missing.